Okay, hey everyone, welcome to the field between. My name is Ahmed.
And I'm Yasmine.
What's on deck for today? I'm leading this episode.
Yes, you are. I've got nothing prepared.
You're
I'm
just
happy to be here for the ride.
Sitting there on the couch.
Yeah, I stole Batata's blanket.
This is gonna be I don't know how much we're gonna get done today.
Why? I have to
It's
write.
just kind of a very lazy day.
No, I think it's a lazy first half of the day.
I kind of just want to sit and play my Star Wars video game.
You should. You've made Shy for 5 community events in the last 14 days, which is very impressive. So you should just chill.
That doesn't sound that impressive.
It does. It's a huge undertaking.
That's good. Yeah, we did do a fundraiser event at our home last night.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk more about it on a future podcast, but do you want to give a little overview?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we'll save it for the intrigue.
We'll save it. But we did host like a little event that was nice to see a lot of people, also a lot of new people. We raised a good amount of money.
Yeah, definitely more than I thought we would, which is really cool.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
The day before that, we had a really chill day. I feel like we've been like doing a lot and socializing a lot, so it was really nice to just kind of laze around a little bit together and relax.
What do we do? We went to our fish place.
That was the night before, but yes, we got fish and chips.
Yeah.
I finally saw Wicked. It was so good.
What's your review of Wicked?
I really was worried that it was going to be overhyped and I wasn't going to enjoy it, but I thought it was lovely. And I don't have any opinions about Ariana Grande as a person or a performer, but I've never like particularly liked her. I don't have beef with her either, but I thought she did a great job. I really liked her performance.
Really?
Yeah, both of the actresses were excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really solid. Musical, I love musicals, and adapting musicals to movies is definitely not easy, but I thought they did a great job.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Were they singing the whole time?
No. And I saw they had some criticism online, but I thought it was a good thing. They broke out the singing like quite a bit.
Mic right here.
That they kind of like switched between like talking and then singing lines, but I think it made it more organic and feel more like dialogue.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really good. It's about friendship and about standing up in the face of tyranny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who's the tyrant?
The Wizard of Oz.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you ever see The Wizard?
You do.
What's he?
It's Jeff Goldblum, who's great.
He's Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah, the actor.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We should watch it.
What does he do?
I don't want to give anything away, but you probably have at least seen The Wizard of Oz, so you know that this is kind of like a fanfic, which basically tells the story from... Okay, well, for those who have seen The Wizard of Oz, basically the premise of Wicked, which is originally like a novel, is that it's telling the Wicked Witch's side of the story and how she's actually kind of set up and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But basically the wizard, similar to the Wizard of Oz, it's all smoke and mirrors. Like he doesn't have any real power. He just kind of uses like magic tricks and vaudeville type tricks to look powerful.
Wow.
And the populace thinks he's like all powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Do the witches have powers?
They actually have power, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do they kill him?
You gotta see the film.
They kill him?
You gotta see the film.
Oh my God.
This is only halfway through the story though. I wouldn't say it's violent. I did scream at one point because our friend was really laughing at me because the flying monkeys scared me. They came out of nowhere.
What do they look like are they scary looking in the movie?
They just kind of jumped out and I yelled and no one else yelled in the theater.
Oh. Interesting.
But anyway, yeah, it was a good weekend. And now you're doing one more cafe, but that's just like an open hours cafe, not like an event.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of like house things I really want to do before we head out. Just like some organizing and stuff before the new year. Maybe if we can get your sewing machine fixed, we'll finally set up our podcasting studio. That'd be great too. Maybe
I can finally look at that today. I've been wanting to do that for a while.
I feel like you might have to pay someone to fix it at this point, right? Which would be totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of paying for, someone to hem the curtains. But you should give it a shot first, yeah. In order to relax, I've been designing my ideal house for us, and that's been really fun.
I don't know what this house looks like. I don't know where the house is.
It's in Philly. It's a house that I found on Zillow. It's a condo that you really liked. Both of us liked.
Okay.
So I've been decorating it for fun.
Okay.
Yeah. It looks good.
Has anyone purchased it yet?
No, it keeps on getting cut down in price.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Why doesn't anyone want to live there?
I think because it's only a 2-bedroom and a lot of people for that price would want
You got to speak up. Your levels are coming in really low.
I think because it's only a 2-bedroom and for that price, a lot of people would want a 3. To be clear, we are not buying a house. This is just fun fantasy stuff. We are currently renters, but
yeah.
Wouldn't
it be weird if someone bought it and then we befriended them?
No, that'd be so cool.
To like go in and secretly see how they've decorated it.
We did it I would hate it because it wouldn't be how I planned it, you know?
Yeah.
But it would still be cool to see it. It's a cool neighborhood and area.
Yeah. You wanted to put a chandelier in the bathroom, which I think is weird.
I asked to see if you liked it, even though because it's not real, ultimately you have no authority over the imaginary planning, but I did try and look for alternatives since you didn't like it, but I thought it was really cute. Lighting is sorry, this is totally like a tangent, but I enjoy design stuff and interior design stuff, and lighting, like funky lighting is having such a fun moment right now. I love it. Like lots of very surreal, cool, like the style is back from the 60s I had never heard of called Sputnik, you know, named after the Sputnik, but just like really kind of like, I don't know, space agey looking lamps. I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
We got like a gentle version of that, which I love, our kind of curved lamp.
Yeah.
But there's some really wacky ones out there right now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What else? What any other updates?
All my grades are in. My finals are due.
Good job.
Monday at midnight. So all Tuesday and Wednesday, I will be, as the children say, locked in grading.
Yep.
I scrapped the article I've been talking about forever. I started a new one. So I got to finish that in the next week, inshallah. Finish a draft.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh my God.
That's about it.
This article is supposed to be done in October.
I know, but I'm going to have a draft.
And now it hasn't even started.
I started it.
It's a different article.
I know, but it was the right choice because I realized I was writing the book and I was like, oh, that is why I can't make this an article. It was like the thesis of the book, you know?
Yeah.
I feel confident in this decision. I just don't feel confident that I'll finish a draft before we leave for New York, but I'm going to try really hard.
Okay. Nice. I'm going to turn you up a little bit because you're speaking too softly.
I'm such a soft lady, you know?
Yeah, you're very soft spoken.
What are you trying to say? It is weird. I've always found that incongruent because I'm pretty like opinionated, but I am just like naturally a soft spoken person. It doesn't stop me from talking though.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Okay. I already told you this, but this is just weird, so I have to mention it. I was catching up with my dad, and this is something that I'm still kind of like trying to make sense of. But anyway, we were talking, and I can't remember what I had mentioned to him. But
you were telling him about the poet, I think, the Palestinian poet that we had over for tea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. I was telling him about that event, and he was just randomly also talking about something that he had read and liked. It was a book. I can't remember the title of it, but he was just like, yes, I like this book a lot. You should check it out. And it's a book about like some Mexican immigrant family from an undocumented family. And it's like the daughter of this family. She essentially wrote a diary or like a memoir type thing. And I was like, okay, that's a weird.
Sorry, keep going, but I think I might know what book it is. I wonder if I'm right.
Hold on, let me see. He sent me anyway.
Keep explaining, yeah.
I was surprised at that because I was just like, oh, interesting. That doesn't seem like a thing he would read. I was like, okay, cool. So you like the book? And he was just like, yeah. And then he was just like, there are a lot of similarities between like an Arab family and a Mexican immigrant family. And I was just like, okay. That was also like a weird thing to be able to. Or not weird. It was just like an unexpected thing from my dad, who I think in the past has also had like anti-illegal immigrant sentiments.
Has he?
Yeah, I think that's like not an uncommon thing among people who
did immigrate, had the opportunity to immigrate legally.
Yeah. I don't know if he's as like, if it's.
I was gonna say he doesn't seem to be like rabid about it. If it is,
not that
that's
not,
okay,
it's
but
not like
yeah,
the defining issue for him or anything like that. But I think he's just like, yeah, if people do it, they should do it legally or whatever. And then I was just like, okay, cool. Also unexpected. And then he was like, yeah, I liked it so much that I wanted to be able to read it in Arabic, and I translated it.
That's so sweet.
And I was just like, what the fuck?
The entire book, right? Like 200 pages, like not like a section.
I don't know how long the book is, but I was just like, what do you mean translated it? Because I thought for a while, I was just like, did you just
put it in Google or something?
Google, yeah. And he was just like, no, like I sat down and I translated it, and it took me 2 years to translate. And I was just like, what? It's such a weird thing that I think evidences some level of like a sensitive sweetness that I was not part of my vision of my dad. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, oh, this is interesting. Anyway, he sent me, I'm looking at the translation right now. It says Mesafet Banana. So it's like the distance between us.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it was In the Country We Love, My Family Divided, but not that. Because that was a big book for a while by Dan Guerrero.
Let me see. Let's search the distance.
I feel like your dad has a lot of curiosity about the world. Like he was an engineer and wasn't really able to get full-time work in this country doing that. But yeah, it's like sweet as we get older. Like it is weird seeing our parents, and I think anyone like in their 30s can probably relate to this, as like full people. Yeah. You know, when we're no longer in that relationship. I mean, my parents actually still take care of me a lot, as Ahmed will attest to, which I'm very grateful for. I'm very spoiled. But yeah, you know, they're like people, and it is really sweet to see other dimensions of them. I've also noticed, like, I think it's cute. Some of the things, like, I think we both had some stereotypes and ideas about your parents. Like, we were worried that they'd be offended by some of the art in our house that has, like, you know, my grandfather's art, actually, of naked women. Right. But they always actually remark whenever they've been to any of our homes, which is so sweet. Like, oh, like, you like art, and, like, they like it. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up now. The book is called The Distance Between Us by Reina Grande. It has a pretty good review on Goodreads.
We should read it.
4.36. 325 pages.
That's really cool. Hardcover. I mean, translating something is not easy.
That's great. That's just such a
I've never seen
crazy
you be more
thing to do.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it now.
That's wow.
I've never seen you more like surprised to learn something about one of your parents.
Well, I mean, we just like never had a conversational relationship, so I know nothing about like their kind of interior lives. And, yeah, like it's strange to find this out when I'm 33 years old. And I, you know, probably some bad on my part for just not assuming, but like, yeah, I just didn't know anything about what piqued their curiosity or whatever. But they also don't really know that from me either, right? Because we grew up in a total, like a way that was just very much like, you should do this, you should do that, you should not do this, you should not do that.
Yeah.
Nothing like, what do you think about this issue?
There wasn't like a lot of warmth or like interest in your personal interests. Yeah. I mean, to be fair
to you,
that
goes both ways.
It's hard to transition out of that, especially when there was like a power authority your whole life. So now that when you are an independent adult, it's hard to like build that.
Yeah.
But I feel like the credit to him on his part too, for kind of like letting you into his world and telling you something he was interested about. That kind of is sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just fucking weird though. It's just so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had this moment with your mom when she was here. Like your mom has like really great instincts and really sweet like wishes for us, but then like we just kind of miss each other on the details. Yeah. And so one of those things has been like, if she was a better teacher, and to be fair, if I was more patient, I would really appreciate studying some Arabic with her.
Yeah.
But
yeah, maybe you should read this book.
Well, so she gave me this book that is like 200 pages and like a literary text and like clearly very dense. And like not something I would be able to like get through.
Yeah.
I would love to read like children's books and stuff with her.
No, I was saying you should read his
I should read your dad's. Yeah. But anyway, I still appreciated hearing your mom talk about the book and kind of like tell me about like her love of literature when she was in college. It was cool to hear.
Yeah.
And the cover art was really lovely. Also racier than I expected. I was surprised.
I don't remember the book.
Yeah. I'm blanking on what it was called. I've got the PDF in a folder called Ahmed and Yasmine on my laptop.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, do I need to read this book or should I reach out to this? This is just like the crazy thing is that this is work that someone, I guess, normally probably gets paid like thousands of dollars to do. And he just did it because he just wanted to be able to read the book in Arabic.
I think you should read it in English and Arabic. You should read it in English, then you should read your dad's translation. That'd be good practice for you anyway.
Yeah.
And I feel like you should do that before you reach out to the author.
You gotta hold the mic to your...
That'd be good motivation to reach out to the author.
Yeah.
The thing is, we can't really have your dad on the podcast because we've talked about your parents on the podcast.
Yeah.
We'd have to go back and... we could just remove some episodes.
No, he's not really like a... He wouldn't do this.
He wouldn't talk to the author? You don't think that he would enjoy that?
No.
Well, you could talk to the author and tell him about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think you should read the book because I think it also would give you a shared context and something to talk to your dad about. Something else I've noticed with your parents is that we have a lot more to talk to them about since we went to Egypt. That's been really cool.
Yeah.
I think that they just like really appreciated that we had a good time, and it's like they live in Egypt in their minds a lot. And it's interesting because it's in Egypt that like, you know, they have gone back and visited, but they haven't actually lived there for a number of years full time, which I think is the case for a lot of immigrants. That there's this kind of in-between relationship to the place where you immigrated from.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been really nice to like, every time we see them or talk to them on the phone, we end up having pretty detailed conversations about places we visited and stuff. And it's sweet to be able to share that. I guess that's the thing. We don't have that many things in common to talk about. So it's nice to add to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to mention that. I still trying to kind of... It sounds like a weird thing to... I'm not like processing in the sense that it's like, this is certainly not like a traumatic thing.
No, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like it's a very sweet thing.
No. It's a sweet thing in that, but it is kind of fucking with my conception of my parents, specifically my dad. It's also, I guess we should try to have more conversations about like, oh, what are you thinking about? What are you like working on sort of stuff? Because clearly there's something there. And I just haven't, because I get frustrated because I feel like at times when we do try to tell them, they're like, oh, why don't you do this instead? Or you should be doing that. Or even like when they came to the giant iftar thing that we planned, they came and we had told them that we planned it, but then when they were there, like it's just like something's just not clicking.
They didn't realize that we were the ones,
and they were like, "Who? Yeah. This is great. Who did this?"
Right.
And we were just
but I think, to be fair to them, over time they're like getting more information about our lives, and it's adding up. And like, you know, so every time that we see them and they see us in a different context, and similarly every time we hear something that they're interested in, it slowly is adding to our knowledge of each other.
Yeah.
Like even I think that's why I was really glad, even though I think it's not that easy for them to travel. And like, generally speaking, it was easier for us to go to them. But I was really glad that they visited us here because I think it's helpful for them to like see that we're happy and safe and that we know people in the city and that there are Arabs in the city and just like little things like that, you know. And though we didn't hear it directly, we've heard through your sister that they had a really lovely time. And, you know, like it's just nice to know.
Yeah.
So I think those things are important, even if they're not seamless in the moment.
True. Okay. I've got a couple items for you.
Okay.
And then an article, and then that'll be it. But the first one is, you've heard of the Hawk-Tuah?
Yeah.
Do you know like how she got famous or whatever?
I don't remember, but I know that she's run with it and was more liberal than people were expecting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So she had a viral moment when she was on the street interviewed, and I think everyone knows, I don't need to explain it. Anyway, so she had this like viral moment, and now people call her the Hawk-Tuah girl. She got a very lucrative podcast deal with, I think like Jake Paul's media network.
Uh-huh.
So she has a podcast now that people have been making fun of quite a bit, but it actually came out as like one of the top 5 podcasts on like Spotify or something. It's man, the age we live in. But and then people are mad at her recently. I don't know if you heard about this, but she apparently did like a shitcoin rug pull scheme that people are mad at.
What? I don't know any of the words that you're saying.
Yeah. So this like people have been launching meme coins. Have you heard of this?
This is like partially because Trump is about to be in power, right? And cryptocurrency is something that is like now people are actually making money off of for a hot second at least.
I don't know how much it has to do with Trump. I mean, people have been launching meme coins, I think, all throughout both presidencies. It's probably even
But Bitcoin is at an all-time high, like since it's been announced that he's coming into office.
That's Bitcoin.
But isn't that part of this cryptocurrency world?
Bitcoin's a cryptocurrency, but it's not like a meme coin.
Right.
Yeah. And also, like, yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't really know how much of it is in response to the Trump presidency or not. I haven't done any reading on that. But like a meme coin is like, I guess an exchange, like anyone can go on one of these cryptocurrency exchanges and just launch their own coin. And if you have enough popular backing, then, you know, people buy into it. And then like you have a thing. It's really
a representation of a thing.
You
gotta write that piece, Ahmed.
It's so fucking weird because it's just like such a
abstraction of an abstraction.
It's not even that. I mean, yes, but like it's not. It's just that there truly is no like underlying service or product or whatever. And I feel like people get in and they're like, oh, this is just musical chairs, right? Like whoever's left without you know, I'm mixing metaphors here, but like whoever's left holding the bag is like whatever. Like there's going to be a sucker in this, and as long as it's not you, then it's a good investment. And it's just so weird to me. But anyway, so people are alleging, and it seems like so she launched this meme coin, they hyped it up. The people who were in charge of like getting investors before it launched took very like high fees, like I think like 17% in fees. And then the value of the coin, I'm reading from the BBC here. This fucking blew my mind. So Hawk-Tuah launched the Solana blockchain around 22 GMT on Wednesday, and its market capitalization soared to highs of $490 million shortly after.
Oh, gosh.
$500 million market capitalization. That's crazy. That's like a pretty decent sized company.
But I mean, it's not based on anything. It probably won't sustain itself.
Well, okay, so this is the rug pull, right? However, it sharply fell from this high to around 60 million just 20 minutes later. So it lost like 90% of its value or 95% of its value immediately. Again, it never really had any value, but because a lot of the early investors and stuff, like people who they had distributed early shares to or whatever, just like sold it immediately, right? Like why would you hold on to
such an unstable asset?
Thing that is not even I just like I like balk at like calling them assets or whatever, but yeah, this like
for lack of a better term.
Anyway, people tried calling her out on that, and I'll slide a clip in here where there was like a Twitter Spaces where someone was trying to ask her about this, and she just was like, okay, I have to go to bed now, bye.
Hey, this is one of the most miserable, horrible launches I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, then why the fuck are you on?
I've been tracing it on chain for a while. You guys generated over $1 million in fees while y'all's fans got rug pulled. Who makes the money on the fees? Someone just made over $1 million on fees. Who made it?
First of all, the fees were there with Meteora pools, and that goes to, yes, the creator, right?
Which is who? Who does that does that belong to?
That belongs to the project. Do you know how much it costs for lawyer fees to create a foundation in the Cayman Islands, to hire directors? You think this stuff pays for itself? It's a foundation that is running this project.
How much does she own of it?
It's a foundation. She owns 0 of the foundation.
So y'all made the money?
No, I don't own the foundation either. A foundation in the Cayman Islands.
Who profited? Over $1 million was just
I'm
made.
telling you, a foundation that pays people out.
Who made the money from your 17% pre-sale while you're giving a tiny piece of the pie to the public? Like, what the hell? This is the worst tokenomics I've ever seen, and it is a scam.
It's not a scam.
The tokenomics are a scam.
Not for the token price itself, but just in terms of the fact that there's fees that are being generated. There's an actual
Hey
source
guys,
of income.
I hate to interrupt you, Nick. Hello there. But anywho, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay. I guess we're talking over here.
I mean, it's hard to, I don't know or have any opinions about her, but it's like hard to be mad at her. It's like obviously like a symptom of like a weird time that we're in where like there's a lot of like betting happening and kind of like speculative stuff, and like it's not a stable way to invest, obviously.
No, that's the this is what you were talking about. I do feel like because there are generally fewer and fewer opportunities to actually earn a dignified living through like sustained, secure work, or like doing anything that feels like it's of value to you on a personal level or to your community, or just like general career and advancement that feels like it's sustainable and that you can do it without having your soul crushed, right? And you're contributing to something. All it is now is get rich quick schemes, and they're just like quickly becoming more and more normalized. And it's been like this for a while, but I think it's really just ramped up, right? Like the lottery is like one thing. People develop gambling addictions, and gambling has become more and more normalized and legalized with, sports betting, and all these prop betting websites online now that you can access, I think, from every state. You can just like gamble on your fucking phone. It's a scary, I'm making a slippery slope.
I was going to say, I think some of these things are connected, but I do want you to write this piece because I feel like there is something there.
Yeah.
I will say it seems almost like a little bit of a gold rush kind of mentality, and I think that's always existed, right? That people kind of flock to a thing because it seems like a quick, easy get ready scheme. But I think you're right. It does remind me of like the Depression era in the US where people were like so anxious to find a thing because things were so divided economically in terms of like who has money and who doesn't. Like the gap is like larger than ever.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the thing that I find interesting about how you've been describing this, at least to me, is kind of like the ephemerality of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not gold, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Gold is like it's understood. There's a certain amount of
even
the
if
ground.
there wasn't much or enough for everyone. Like
right.
There was an idea of an object there.
There's an object. Well, there's an object there, and
right.
It ends right. The scary thing with this is that it's based on events, or like you said, like ephemeral things, and you just find the next thing to bet on, right? Like sport, like basketball games are always going to happen, and you're betting on like what shoes someone is going to wear,
right?
Or like what color the Gatorade they're going to dump.
And again,
is.
There's always been like horse betting and stuff, but for me, like the Dogecoin and like the meme coins are like another level because it's so abstracted. Like it's all in like internet space, and it's all based on kind of pop culture references. It's kind of interesting. Like I wonder if people who study like linguistics are interested in this. Like it is kind of interesting, like how quickly things evolve and like kind of become little cultural touchstones, like how fast that process is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is weird. But I can't really be mad at that girl. Like that's just a bad investment decision.
For the people who
I
don't know. It's just like, again, I
mean, there should be better regulations, obviously, but
it shouldn't be allowed to happen. Like, what is how can you launch essentially what is a venture and like get capital for something that doesn't exist? Like, can I go to the grocery store and be like, can I pay for this with Hawk-Tuah coin, please?
Right.
Like, what?
But I mean, you can't really pay for most things outside of like San Francisco with cryptocurrency. It's all speculative, and then you try to cash out.
Even a hitman. If I wanted to hire a hitman, and they're can I be like, do you accept Hawk-Tuah coin, or are they just like, no? If they pay me in Bitcoin, like, I think there are two pretty much like somewhat stable. I don't even want to say stable, but like generally known, like validated cryptocurrencies, and it's like Ethereum and then Bitcoin, right?
Right. And even that, it's so silly. Like, yes, it's not tied to one national bank yet, but it doesn't do away with any of the fundamental structural problems of capitalism. Like, I feel in the beginning it was kind of promised as this thing that was going to like be beyond money, but it's just a different type of money. Like,
well, I don't think it was ever put forth as something that would address anything within capitalism. I think it was more like trying to transcend centrally like nation state backed currency.
But
right?
I definitely heard discourse that was like, oh, this will be like, you know, right, because it's not nation based. Maybe transcending capitalism is the right description, but like this is the people's banking. Right. Like, this is for the people, by the people, and it's like, what people? Like,
no, absolutely not. Like, the second that Goldman Sachs got invested in it, you, that should have been a signal to everyone that, oh, this is just a speculative asset.
Right.
Yeah, and for me, it's not just like this. I'm probably not the first person to call it this, right? But like what I call like the scam economy, the betting stuff is just part of it, and the cryptocurrency stuff is just part of it. But it is all just a purely speculative economy, where you're throwing your money in, and all of it is just getting sucked up with fees, and then also like it's a volume game. Like, the people who have the money to like put in big and then like they pull out their money, like those are going to be the people who make anything, right? You may make $10 here or there, but like on net, people are just going to lose because everything is being changed back into dollars.
Right. Yeah, that's
right?
Still the like that's still the standard. Yeah,
exactly. And as long as that's the case, there are only so many dollars that are going to be out there, and like, do you think these people are going to like lose on that front? Right? No, like, they're going to trade everything back, and then they're just going to suck a bunch of value out of whatever they pumped up, and you're going to be like fucked.
You know how there's like Tupperware parties and all these like Ponzi schemes that a lot of women who are kind of desperate get roped into, often because it's like, hey, you can support your family and you can work part-time and you can do social media from home, you know?
Yeah.
This is like boy version of that for a lot of people.
This is boy version of the other boy version is people are also getting really into watches. They're trying to make all these expensive and different, not even only expensive, like people are trying to normalize the concept of like, this is a starter investment, like entry-level watch. This like Rolex, whatever, they're more common, but if you buy one and then maybe you can trade up into this one.
Interesting. At least watches are physical, real things.
Watches are physical, real
that do usually have value over time, but yeah. It's odd.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I don't know, man. I just want to have a house one day or a condo. I don't know.
Houses, I feel, are also part of it. But the house is like a real
You live
thing.
in it. You at least use it. Yeah.
You live in it and you use it. But also there are these companies now that are trying to take a house in a neighborhood. I forget what it's called. And I hope it's been banned. But like, there are a couple of companies that are trying to just take a physical house, incorporate the house as like a corporate entity, and then they issue shares of the house.
You were telling me that. That's so weird.
For people.
So no one's in the house, even though we have a housing crisis. It's just like you own an asset, a share of the house.
Well, that's like the dystopic sort of vision of this, right? Is that eventually we get to the point where like no one can afford an actual fucking house, but they have shares in a house or in a couple of houses.
Yeah, that's weird.
And we're all like living on the street and the houses are empty. Like, what are we...
I don't know how widespread that is, but it is a weird concept.
It's not widespread, but the fact that it even exists,
right?
I think is an indicator of how bad things can get if we don't all recognize this as a problem and act on it. because people are just getting more and more desperate. And it's not their fault, right? Like, I think people have been realizing steadily for a while now that the concept of the American dream isn't a real thing. And the real American dream is like, how many people can you scam to get yours? And,
hot takes.
It's not a hot take, I don't think. I just think it's that's what business is becoming in the U.S. It's not really providing a service
I feel like
anymore.
it's probably been the case for a long time for a lot of people. But yeah, I agree that the gap is widening and the kind of the hyper speculation is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do not endorse Hawk-Tuah coin on this podcast.
Unless she wants to give us some, and then we can. I think it's too late at this point, but if she launches another coin,
we can get it within the first half hour.
Yeah, then we'll endorse for sure. Okay. This next clip is from our great state senator, John Fetterman, talking about the Luigi Mangione case.
God, I hope we're still in Pennsylvania to help get this asshole out of office. I will do literally everything.
Yeah.
People want to glamorize that. People here in the media want to glamorize that or talk about how he's a sexy guy, and that's not a story. He executed an innocent man with 2 kids because he happens to disagree in the work that he has. Well, people disagree with me. Well, then now I need to take him out, or take out anyone that works in a business. I hate the media. You vote in the media? Well, there we go. Imagine if somebody cuts one of you members of you down, and now they're getting cheered online because they're hot, or because some people really have a reason to hate the media. It's crazy. People want to.
I just want to point out his argument is, well, imagine if someone
cheered on death.
cheered on someone who was killing someone just because they were hot or because they liked them or whatever. And this guy has been doing nothing for the past year but cheering on the state of Israel as it kills kids.
Yeah, when the pager thing happened, where pagers in Lebanon went off and exploded, and some a lot of people were caught up in that.
Yeah, John Fetterman said, "I love that."
Yeah, I know. He's literally, we're not exaggerating, he's literally been a cheerleader for death in a way that is so grotesque.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people who are pro-Israel who are just not as just nasty and kind of really intense in their excitement about genocide as he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the irony is pretty funny. There's not much to say there. I mean, I think people like Fetterman fundamentally just don't see all human beings as human beings. It's as simple as that.
That's it. Part of me wants to believe that they have some compromise on him, but I think I think you're probably right. The simple explanation is probably the best one here.
Maybe it's a combo, because I kind of agree with you that it doesn't make it better or worse. Anyone who abets genocide is an asshole. But just the kind of fervor with which he does it is bizarre. It's just so angry and over the top. I mean, he was on top of his office building screaming at protesters. He just seems a little bit nuts sometimes.
Not his office building. That was his home.
Oh, is that his home?
Yeah.
Oh, we're actually pretty close to hit one of his office buildings here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. He has one in downtown. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really funny that people don't think about this irony. There was similar for the governor, right? For what's his name? Shapiro. He has signed bombs that were being sent to Israel, signed weapons, and
those things were going around side by side. It's him just being Luigi, bad guy, and then literally signing a bomb, which is if the bomb wasn't going to Israel's genocide, right? A war that is just a straight up genocide, it would still be bad.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're going to say that, because I was going to be there's no need to sign weaponry ever. It's just a bizarre thing to do.
What are you doing?
It's not a little journal that you're going to dot with your eyes with a heart. There's no need to sign weaponry.
A bomb is used
it's an instrument
to
of
kill.
death. Yeah.
It's not it's going to plant trees in the ground.
Yeah.
What are you doing? That's an insane thing to do.
This is not my take. I've seen other people with smarter commentary than me saying this, but I really agree with it. Just a lot of young people in this country are really desensitized to violence because they grew up with school shootings and they grew up with kind of like the specter of violence around them. And it's like, but they didn't kind of come to that conclusion out of a vacuum. Like they were also born and raised in a country in which like violence against other people is glorified, you know, and like seen as very morally good, not just morally neutral.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I won't rant about this again, but I feel very similarly whenever I see coverage of like the atomic bomb, like it just makes my blood boil. Like violence against anyone it's very disturbing.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that young people are making jokes about this guy. I mean, yeah, we don't glorify any kind of violence, but it's coming out of a violent context, and it's not nearly as violent in the large scheme of things as all the violence that the healthcare system does against people. So,
yeah, I don't doubt this. You know, a lot of people are celebrating. They're like, fuck this guy. Like he got in the middle of like New York, whatever. I still think a lot of people it is less about the death itself and more just about putting fear in the hearts of like not only healthcare executives, but executives and oligarchs who have been extracted from the American working class for
absolutely. And it's a way to
decades.
like show it is a way to kind of leverage something, I think, in a really short-term way.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to have any long-term effects, but, you know, people are doing what they can, I guess.
I'm still afraid. I think the long-term effects are going to be more surveillance. More
Probably.
police,
for sure.
But,
I mean, you know, was it United Healthcare that was also thinking about only paying for part of euthanasia?
No, that was Blue
not
Cross
euthanasia,
Blue
my
Shield.
bad. Part of
anesthesia.
Anesthesia, not euthanasia. Part of anesthesia. Our friend was just talking about editing these videos, so euthanasia's on my head for dog euthanasia. But sorry, anesthesia, and they reversed that decision pretty closely after the you know shooting, which is interesting.
Yeah. Actually, this is a good segue to the last thing that I have, which is an article by our good friend Bedbug Stevens, also known as Bret Stevens, of the New York Times opinion section.
I don't know this author.
We have talked about him before.
Okay. The only one who sticks in my head is Thomas Friedman.
He is also an all-time favorite, but Bret Stevens had a lot of really great takes about like encampments and stuff that we've talked about.
Oh, right. Okay.
In the past, about Israel, Palestine, all that. So he has this new opinion piece that came out on the 12th, titled, what is the title? Brian Thompson, not Luigi Mangione, is the real working class hero.
Wait, is Brian Thompson the healthcare exec?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
By the way, I just want to say, like, before we get into this piece, it sounds like people were saying that Brian was on his way to Pittsburgh, or not Brian. Luigi was on his way to Pittsburgh. Maybe they're speculating that was going to be his final stop. And I'm like, damn, he and I could have gone to the exercise warehouse together, hung out, chilled.
No jokes about the mafia or about abetting murder on this podcast. We're not trying to go to jail.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if a new guy had moved into town and
any new guy,
an Italian specifically,
you would have taken him to a good Italian spot.
Yeah, an Italian who looked like he liked to exercise. I would have been like, oh, have you been to the exercise warehouse?
No, I can't be clear enough because I have a job, but also because I want to be like just clear about my personal conviction. Don't condone any kind of murder, like at all, of anyone ever. So
that's controversial.
That's my position.
That's really controversial.
Yeah.
Okay.
But okay, continue.
So this piece by Bret Stevens, Brian Thompson, not Luigi Mangione, is the real working class hero. I'll read.
I can't believe I missed this.
Oh yeah, I can't believe it either because it's just so good. So he starts out by talking about Brian Thompson's upbringing on a farm, his mom being a beautician, whatever, blah, 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 and him having to...
Oh, this is a great tactic. So making him seem like he had working class origins.
Yeah.
And that's enough for our sympathy.
Which I'm like, I don't know. I haven't looked up Brian Thompson's whatever, but people tend to think of like a lot of these farmers as being like poor people, like salt of the earth, and certainly that a lot of them can be, especially like smaller farms. But if you have like a big farm, those people are making quite a bit of money.
I will say, in fairness, then I think you're usually not the one physically farming. You just own a bunch of farms.
You could be even like being the one out on the tractor, but like, yeah, you're again, I don't know. Anyway, even if it's true that he had like a small farm and like a little rural upbringing or whatever, and like worked his way up, that does not mean he is a working class hero. Again, it just means that he was born at a time where like the wealth gap and the opportunity gap in the US wasn't so severe that like someone couldn't like work their way up over
and he
time.
got lucky. That happens sometimes. That doesn't mean
Sometimes
that
people get lucky.
That doesn't mean that you're not complicit in helping. I mean, again, not like he was individually, personally complicit more than anyone else, but yeah.
Yeah. And then he tries to, say that those details are worth bearing in mind as some people seek to cast his killing as a tale of justified or at least understandable fury against faceless corporate greed. One X-Times reporter, Taylor Lorenz, said she felt joy at the killing. Elizabeth Warren, the Massachusetts senator, offered that violence is never the answer, but people can only be pushed so far.
A very reasonable assessment.
Yeah. Pictures of Luigi Mangione, the 26-year-old charged with the murder of Thompson, have also elicited a fair amount of oohing and aahing on social media over his toned physique and bright smile.
Wait, pause. I do want to say I do think there is something weird there, but like I don't know that it's like we have to pathologize it. It just is like a fact. But like if he had been unattractive or frankly even like not white, this would have been very different coverage. Like if he had been Arab or black, like there's no way he would have been valorized in this way. That's just a fact.
Hard to say. I don't know. I think there was a prisoner, like a mugshot. Don't do that with your cord. There was like a mugshot that went around like a couple years ago of like a hot prisoner that people really liked. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I do. He ended up getting modeling contracts, I think, once he was released.
Again, there's probably some like racial politics there, but that was like a light-skinned black guy with like blue eyes. Like,
yeah.
Really, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know what crime he was in for either.
Yeah, me either. But I mean, if this guy even had like a name that was like Muslim or Arab in some way, I mean, like he's not personally responsible for this. I'm not like saying like, oh, yeah. But I do think it's interesting.
I think it happens with people from like, I think there was also like at some point there was like a Hamas soldier or something, like people were like, ooh, this is a hot person.
Yeah.
Or, I think this just happens. People like sometimes have like weird
crushes.
They make sex symbols out of
imperfect people.
Out of subversive characters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
And I think this is interesting to think about. Maybe this isn't, it's not really in your wheelhouse, but it would be an interesting article to have someone think through about like anti-statist views and then like sexual, I don't even want to say pathologies. I don't know, like if people would call it that, but just almost like seeing the state as a patriarch. Or you know what I'm saying? And then like it's like dating someone who your father would not approve of.
Yeah.
Right?
There is also a lot there that's interesting in terms of like Italians and racialization. Like Italians weren't always considered white, and there've been a lot of jokes about like like, you know, like whiteness is a construct, but it's a socially powerful one, and he's kind of like just on the edge of like, you know. I mean, he's Italian American, but yeah.
Right.
Italian Americans fully considered white now, but they weren't always in the US.
Right.
And historically, because, you know, again, because race is made up and people have been interchanging forever, like Southern Italians are like historically mixed with a lot of folks from the Mediterranean and, you know, what we might now think of as the Arab world. And it's been a lot of back and forth.
Yeah. So he tries to make it seem out here from the front that it's people are, again, not at all reasonable in finding something good from this, in that it is kind of like a steam vent, or it has acted as like a way to let off steam for a lot of people who have
that's a great way to describe it, actually.
Frustration, right? And he's like, no, you're not even entitled to that because, again, what you're doing is glorifying the murder itself and not like, I mean, yeah, it's like almost an I told you so moment. It's like people have long been saying like, this is dire, this is dire, this is dire, and no one listens. And like, fuck it. And also, I think the thing that makes me really indignant is, do you not think these people, these executives, get together and like laugh and like cheer each other on when they post like profits, and then they must know that is coming from the fact that they have a certain rate of denials or like delays of care or whatever. Do you think they give a fuck? Like when someone's family member is dying in the hospital because they're trying to get pre-approval for like some sort of treatment, or when someone actually dies because they couldn't receive the proper health care? No, these guys like cheer and like shake hands and clap each other on the back. They truly don't give a fuck, and they don't spend a single waking second thinking about how to make things better for you. In fact,
the law doesn't operate for everyone. Not everyone's life is deemed worthy of being saving. Not everything is a crime. Yeah.
Again, like you don't even have to say like, no, it's good to be able to cheer this on. Like you can just make the same like decorum argument right back at Bret Stephens.
Yeah.
It's like, did these executives ever mourn the 68,000 plus deaths a year? Like, I don't think so. In fact, I think they fought against more people having health care. But then he tries to contrast it with Mangione's own upbringing. He says his personal story, at least what we know of it so far, is supposed to serve as some sort of parable. It isn't one that progressives should take comfort in. He is a scion of a wealthy and prominent Maryland family, was educated at an elite private school and the University of Pennsylvania, and worked remotely from a nice apartment in Hawaii. And while Mangione, like millions of people, apparently suffered from debilitating back pain, excellent healthcare is not generally an issue for Americans of great wealth.
It is interesting that he came from a more wealthy background, but I think if there is going to be any kind of like class transformation, the idea is that people will come together across class lines. And the idea also is that like, even if people who are relatively well off can't receive good care in this country, that just kind of shows you how bad it is. And it's also like, there are levels of wealth, but you're still very far away from the CEO of a healthcare company, unless you are like also a CEO of a different company.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like sometimes like, and he may have been a different class category, but I think sometimes even like upper middle class people get kind of tricked into thinking that they are rich and they should like not want there to be tax breaks or for there to be, you know, like, but truthfully, you are usually actually closer to being like evicted than you are to being a billionaire.
Yeah. I don't think that probably was, I will say that probably was not the case for Mangione.
No, he seems to come from a pretty wealthy background. Yeah.
But I don't agree that people are characterizing him and his upbringing as like, they're like, this is a working class hero because of his background. Again, I think it's because there was an expression through the clues that he left and what he had written and the experience that he'd gone through with his like back surgery and whatever. And there's still a lot of details we don't know, right? Like we don't know how this all like really fits together. And so people are filling in the gaps, and they are saying this is someone who on some level was neglected by either a healthcare insurance company or by the healthcare administration, like writ large or whatever, and acted on it. And we don't know a ton about his political identity, right?
It's also very possible he doesn't have a coherent political identity, but that he still is kind of like, the fact that people have glommed onto this act shows that there is a structural problem. Like, you know what I mean? He's almost more like I don't want to say he's a symptom because he did kill someone, but people are kind of glomming onto him because of what he represents. It's not really who he is intrinsically, you know?
I do think he's a symptom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
mean, he took action though. I mean, he's not just a symptom. He murdered someone.
But I do think he is a symptom of a larger thing where like this system has been created where people have been trying to assert some level of like there was a really huge push for Medicare for all it was like the thing to talk about for like years and years after Bernie's first campaign. And it has just been like suffocated on every level. Like no one talks about it. And these healthcare insurers have like a ton of money that they put into lobbying, and they have all these captured politicians. And so there's not really like a way to exercise democratic will through politics or legislation, it seems like, and people are becoming more and more desperate. So like,
I will say for me, I think the symptom is that he has been lifted up. You know what I mean? That's the kind of what the symptom is, less like his individual act of murder, because we can't know for sure what his motives are. And even if his motives turn out to be kind of incoherent, though, I mean, the evidence and I would not call it a manifesto. It was literally 2 pages. People need to stop calling that a manifesto. That's a side point. People are no longer highly literate, but his like, you know, little short explanation and the bullets being written with like defend, depose, delay seems to be pretty clearly telling a story, but also like the way that he's being held up is kind of the story.
Microphone,
you know?
mouth. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you gotta keep it. Sorry.
But you've been saying it too many times. You need to cut it out of this episode.
I would argue that you've been moving it away from your mouth too many times.
I'm going to listen back to make sure you cut these out.
No, I'm not going to.
You got it. That's your job,
it's
honey.
too hard. No.
You're so good at it. You got to
Nope,
do it.
I can't do it. As for the suggestion that Thompson's murder should be an occasion to discuss America's supposed rage at private health insurers, it's worth pointing out that a 2023 survey from the nonpartisan Health Policy Research Institute, KFF, found that 81% of insured adults gave their health insurance plans a rating of excellent or good.
I don't know anything about that study. That definitely sounds off. That doesn't sound real.
Interesting that Bret brings this up. I actually went to the survey, which I wonder if he was even expecting anyone to do that.
I'm sure he knew a few people would, but...
Okay, so in the key findings section, Bret is right? Most insured adults give their health insurance positive ratings through though people in poorer health tend to give lower ratings. And it says most insured adults, again, 81% give their health insurance an overall rating of excellent or good. Though ratings vary based on health status. This is the first bullet point in the key findings, and it seems like Bret Stephens just stopped there.
What's the next one?
Because if you just read through the rest of them, despite rating their health insurance positively, most insured adults report experiencing problems using their health coverage. People in poorer health are more likely to report problems. Majority of insured adults, 58%, say they experienced a problem. And then when you look at it by health status, 2/3, 67% of adults in fair or poor health experienced problems. So it seems like the less healthy you are, the harder it is to use it.
And this is also only folks who are able to get private insurance through their employers. So it's not even covering people who aren't able to get private insurance.
No, this actually interviews a couple of different people. Like I think it also includes people on Medicaid and Medicare.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
The next, we'll just go through the key findings for the rest of this because that's really what I wanted to get to. Is that Bret Stephens like cites this survey as an argument that like actually people love the health insurance industry, and it's just leftists who want to see CEOs murdered because they're just like inherently violent. And then he cites the survey to prove his point. That like reasonable people actually like health insurance, and that's the right opinion to have.
Wait, before we delve into this, one other thing I wanted to quickly kind of bookmark. I think it's so funny to be like a New York Times op-ed columnist and be like, well, this hasn't created a conversation when it so clearly has. Like we are all talking about healthcare, and like you know, it wasn't really something people were talking about in this kind of active way for a while.
Yeah, it's like he really is. And people like him are just trying to distract entirely from the conversation. They're like, this is not about healthcare at all. Actually, healthcare isn't the issue. They're beautiful little angels, and they're just like trying to help people the best they can. People are not so much happy about the killing of a guy as they are expressing anger at health insurance.
Yeah.
Like that's what this is about. Another key finding, let's see. Affordability of premiums and out-of-pocket costs are a concern, particularly for those with private health coverage, and for some, contributed to not getting care. About half of adults with marketplace plans, 55%, rate their insurance negatively when it comes to premiums, compared to 27% of people with Medicare and 10% of Medicaid employees.
Damn. So it really differentiates.
Or enrollees. Sorry.
It really kind of differentiates there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, we even have like decent insurance through my employer, and I don't have dental, which is crazy. So that definitely impacts how often I go to the dentist.
You don't have dental?
No.
Did you not elect to get it?
I think I elected. Oh, wait, my bad. I think I elected for something that I get like emergency coverage, but we pay out of pocket for my dental.
Oh, shit. We should have changed that in the open enrollment period.
Let's check this after the episode. Maybe I'm wrong. But you don't remember that I was like kind of spacing out getting my fillings?
But you said you forgot to sign up. You didn't know how. That was the issue. It's not that it's not offered. But you just had an open enrollment.
It was really prohibitive when it was offered, I'm pretty sure. So we chose the
dental insurance is like $7 a month.
All right, let's check. Maybe I'm wrong. It's confusing. I can say that much.
It sounds like you just rolled over. Okay, maybe. All right, we'll figure it out.
Not us solving our actual healthcare insurance issues.
That's unfortunate because... All right.
I think my open enrollment period is actually in the summer because of my contract.
I think everyone has the similar enrollment periods.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
that's,
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Give us 2 more findings, and then I've got actually an article to end us with.
Insured adults overwhelmingly support public policies to make insurance simpler to understand and help them avoid or resolve insurance problems.
Do you know who needs that kind of help?
Who? You?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there are some charts down here. I wanted to point out something here. So the thing that he is citing back to, this is a chart for, the title is Most Insured Adults Give Their Health Insurance an Overall Positive Rating. And then it breaks it down a little bit by, who says excellent, good, or fair. And again, we had that 81% is like excellent or good, whatever. When you're looking at the employer-sponsored insurance, 33% have said excellent, 47% have said good, and then you have that bottom like 20% that say it's fair or poor. The marketplace plans, 20% excellent, so it's lower than the employee-sponsored. 52% say good, which is higher than the employee-sponsored. And then the Medicare, 50% say excellent.
So half say.
50% of people on Medicare are rating their insurance as excellent. All right? Which he is using, again, the figure that aggregates the people who are saying they like their health insurance. He is aggregating within that the Medicare and Medicaid, which measure way, way higher in terms of people who rate them excellent, and then trying to lump that in and say, oh, actually, people who have private health insurance really like it.
Wait, this is really surprising. This is kind of confusing to me. People with Medicaid are saying that they like their insurance better than people on private insurance. I wouldn't have expected that.
People on Medicare are at higher rates than employee-sponsored or marketplace
in terms
plans.
of their satisfaction?
Yes.
That's surprising to me.
At a higher rate.
That's very surprising to me.
Why?
Because I feel like generally a lot of private packages are better.
No, Medicare is great. And that's why Bernie's thing was Medicare for all.
No, I know like if we reform the system and we expanded it, but is that true currently for current insurance policies?
Yeah, if you get on Medicare, it's good coverage. Yeah.
Also, sorry, I don't want to like give credit to this guy, but I'm just kind of confused by the way we're going through this survey. He wasn't saying just private insurance, right? He was saying all insurance people. All insurance
right,
people.
But in his article, I mean, he's talking about this like private insurance CEO.
Okay, so it kind of gives the
saying,
impression as though
he's
I see.
Like, actually, people like their insurance
Got
and
it.
blah, blah, blah. So the issue is not these private insurance companies. It's baboons on the left, and they are out for blood.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he just says 81% of insured adults in his thing, which, again, that 81% aggregates all the different plans And then we're seeing in the aggregate broken out, which is what I'm going through now, is that it's really being benefited by the Medicare respondents. And then when you go to Medicaid, 36% say excellent, which again is higher than the employee-sponsored and higher rate than the marketplace. And then 46% say good, which is 1% lower than employee-sponsored, but 5% higher than sorry, it is actually also less than the marketplace, but it's like not that much less.
That's super interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that.
So the overall 81% is really bolstered by these bottom two. Yeah.
Very interesting.
So let me just go back to this article by Bret, see if he has any. That's pretty much it. He's just kind of saying he's got like literally one more paragraph out of here, but yeah, he's just again like very dishonest, trying to make it seem like health insurance is great and not an issue at all, actually.
Yeah. I'm glad you kind of parsed that out, because I wouldn't have guessed that people were like that satisfied with Medicaid.
I mean, the crazy thing is, how did he get it past like editors? How does an editor look at this? They link to the survey. I don't
think it's that crazy, again, because to be fair, he's trying to like make an opinion piece, and he didn't say only private insurers. He said all insured people. You know what I mean? But your point stands that it's like
the point he's making. He's trying to argue against the idea that people are upset with the private insurers.
Right.
And so if I'm an editor and I'm fact checking his stuff, and then I go to the survey and I see, Bret, I don't know.
Well, he's not one of those people who's actually trying to have an in-depth conversation about healthcare.
No, he's not.
Right.
But you would think as an editor of the New York Times opinion, like his stuff has. Unless they're just like letting it. Did they give him admin access to the website and they're just like, you can just post whatever you want whenever you want?
No, but again, Ahmed, it's
Bret.
not contradicted by that survey. Like, so that's like how you like are sneaky, right? With journalism. Like it is factually correct. But you're right that if you break it out, it tells a different story.
I just think if it's an opinion piece and you're trying to prove a point that this guy was like a bloodthirsty murderer, like, and he actually doesn't have a case and people are actually happy with private insurance.
Right.
I would not cite back to this survey. I would be like, you either need to explain some of the nuances in the survey, but you can't just straight up take the top line survey results and take that to mean that people are happy with
right.
Like it actually, I would say it does not make sense. Like it doesn't prove his point, but whatever. Clearly Bret Stephens has some sort of like,
he's just taking stuff
deal with the devil.
He's just taking stuff out of context to try and make his point. Yeah. No, but it's a good reminder to like actually go look at the data.
Mm-hmm. That's all I got.
I got one more item for you.
Okay.
So we actually brought this up as a joke last episode, and then it came true.
Oh, what happened? What did we bring up?
So this is I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to read the headline for you. This is an op-ed in The Forward, which I have to say, The Forward used to be a very progressive Jewish magazine. I published an op-ed in The Forward. And it's still a mixed bag.
Forward.
But yeah. Displaying baby Jesus in a keffiyeh is anti-Semitic.
Oh, wow.
So there was someone who...
They're talking about the Vatican?
Yeah. Someone who took the time to write an op-ed about that. I'm not going to bother reading it because it's not worth it.
There's got to be a good line in there somewhere.
I really think the title is the best line, honestly, having briefly skimmed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were just basically saying that it erases Jesus' Jewish identity.
It really erases his commitment to the nation state of Israel.
Right? Yeah, I know. That's the main problem with it. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He should be wearing an Israeli flag. That would be more historically accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because you know how he was super into like king making.
Fuck it, just put him in an IDF uniform.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome, actually. If someone did like a Jesus reenactment of him in an IDF uniform.
That sounds so terrible. I'm sure there are some Christian Zionists who are not too far away from that. Those people are fucking crazy.
But that's the thing that is like, do you think that would piss them off? Because they'd be like, oh, I don't know if Jesus was Israeli. Like he's American.
No, I think they would love that because
like that?
I mean, especially Christian Zionists. That's their whole idea of the end times is that like Israel has to be Jewish and then Jesus will come back and all folks who are not Christian will get vaporized.
But do they see Jesus like in their conception of Jesus? Are they like he is a Jewish Israeli? would they be okay with you depicting him as such?
I want to say yes, because then they get to, basically the idea is that they will inherit the nation state of Israel. Like the Christian Zionists will inherit it, you know? I mean, I guess there won't be like nation states in that way, because we'll just kind of be like quote unquote peace on earth. But it is wild that like their end times idea involves like the vaporizing of the people who are that they currently want to inhabit the state. It's just like strange.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they would have felt a little bit more protective over Jesus and like only want, they're like, yeah, you know, they have to do what they have to do in Israel right now, and eventually like they'll be smited.
I think a lot of those people,
but they see Jesus more like them as like as an American like Christian guy.
I don't want to like mix metaphors too much, and I don't want to, you know, paint Christians with too broad a brush, because we're talking about like a very small fundamentalist group of like Zionist Christians that are not all evangelical Christians, obviously.
I'm talking about all Christians.
Okay, but the evangelical Christians who I'm talking about, I think also are kind of into the Jewishness of Jesus, but like because he was the Son of God, you know, obviously he's special and different, and Christianity started. But I don't think that they have a problem with kind of like embracing. They also do a lot of weird stuff where they like will copy like some Jewish traditions for themselves, like Sabbath and whatever else.
Like, is Mel Gibson evangelical?
Yeah.
He's not particularly fond of Jews, right?
No. Well, I don't think Christian Zionists are either. They're just kind of using the state of Israel as an ends to a mean, you know? A means to an end, rather.
But that's the thing, is that in his depiction, people are like, this is anti-Semitic because it shows the Jews as treacherous people who betrayed Jesus.
Is. Yeah.
Right?
Right. But I feel like similarly, like all Christian evangelicals, like that's what I'm trying to say, like their vision of Israel is just like a stepstone to them taking over the kingdom of the earth.
No, I get the Israel. I'm talking about Jesus specifically.
So in their vision, Jesus doesn't like Jews, you know?
Okay.
Right.
So they probably would not appreciate him being depicted wearing an IDF uniform.
But my thing is, I think that they think they're going to inherit the state. So like maybe they wouldn't mind.
So they'll keep it as Israel?
I don't know.
They'll keep the Iron Dome? Or?
I mean, everyone else will be gone, so it probably won't matter, right? Like we'll be gone.
Sure.
I mean, to be fair, we were just reading about, and we're going to try and maybe, so we won't get into too much detail because we might actually do an episode on this, but you introduced me to a really interesting article that was kind of fucked up but interesting about like different kind of extremist Muslim ideas of the end times. And I'm not like a big end times gal. I'm not that into them, but it's cool to learn about.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this, but there are kind of like two groups of hadith. And like in one group of hadith, there's kind of an implication that there will be like different communities. Like there will still be like Christians and Jews.
Yeah.
Which is actually like very like pluralistic and kind of expansive. Obviously the one I want to go with.
Yeah.
But the other one is like, oh, there's just Muslims, which kind of is like, okay, I guess everyone else just got vaporized. It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
But not everyone.
But even in the one that's just like just Muslims, like I think it assumes that like the Mahdi will just be someone who's like so convincing that like a lot of people will become Muslim because of him, right?
I don't think that's how everyone interprets. I mean, that's not how like ISIS interprets it, obviously, because they're just like trying to kill off everyone that's not Muslim before that. But I think you could interpret it that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like maybe if there was a time of true, and maybe some Christian evangelicals even think this. I don't know.
The field between does not endorse ISIS.
Right. Yeah. Obviously. But like maybe if there was like a time of like full peace from a Christian perspective too, some people would just convert if Jesus came. I don't know, if I'm being more generous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that baby Jesus in a kufiya is really cute and we should have more of them. You gotta do it.
I'm gonna do kafaya IDF uniform. I'm just gonna confuse the shit out of everyone and just try to piss off some Christian evangelicals.
Do just a baby kufiya.
Okay.
On the massive one downtown.
We should get our own nativity scene.
That's highly blasphemous. Why would we get a nativity scene?
You wanted a Christmas tree.
That's not the same thing.
You want
and
one.
Also, okay, one, that's not the same thing. That's a pagan tradition that's become associated with Christmas. And I love Christmas trees, and I'd be happy to get one. And my family has one.
Oh, she said it. Oh my God, she admitted it.
Okay, this is an ongoing fight. This is an ongoing fight between us because my theory is that Ahmed secretly wants a Christmas tree.
Want a Christmas.
But he has shame around it. So he's trying to get me to get one. And I have no shame around Christmas trees. I'm just lazy, and I don't want to coordinate it. So if he makes it happen, I'm down. But he's even been like
standoff.
He's been like the cat wants a Christmas tree. I'm like, I think you want a Christmas tree.
I didn't say the cat wants a Christmas tree. I said, if you want one,
yeah,
I will go get one. The cat also likes having it in the house because she can drink the water out of the base. Like she likes the water.
I don't know. I remember our first year together that you were missing having. You were thinking it'd
I was
be
not
nice.
missing. This is pure hearsay.
I will say my family has a Christmas tree, which I really enjoy. So I've never felt the need to get one because I go home and then like there's one there, and I don't have to like put it up or this makes me sound very lazy, but I don't have to like put it up or put it down or, it just is there.
I'm happy that we live in a town that has a good Christmas tree, and like the one in Market Square is actually, it's kind of sick. They animate all the lights all over it.
I feel like it's a little much. The tree itself is good, but the lights are a lot.
The tree is very smashed. I think it fucking rocks.
Really?
Yeah, I would get
dizzying.
I would get so pissed in Raleigh because the downtown Christmas tree, which I think was like always donated by the Sheraton Hotel. First of all, they always got this like ugly tree that had like a bunch of holes in it, and like the branches was just like
Christmas trees are like grown in North Carolina. So that's so weird.
I know, that's the thing that pisses me off is that like North Carolina produces the most Christmas trees in the country. And
I remember when you taught my dad and I that we did not believe you.
You guys refused to believe it, and then I had to look it up and like stunt on your asses.
It's true.
But with facts and logic. But so that's why it's precisely why it would make me mad. And then they would add insult to injury by instead of putting up like string lights or whatever, they kind of just like threw a net of lights over it that just kind of like draped over it.
So lazy. I don't remember this.
So lazy.
Where was it? Was it by the Capitol? I don't even remember the Raleigh Christmas tree.
So they have a smaller one by the Capitol, but like the main one where they do the lighting ceremony was in what is that? What is the name of that plaza?
Moore.
No, not Moore Square. It's a plaza between the Performing Arts Center and the Capitol, like in front of the building. Where I used to work.
By the place I thought was a subway station, but it wasn't.
All right, yeah. Yep.
My favorite thing about North Carolina Christmas was Durham's Tobacco Campus. That was really cute by Christmas. It did really cute lights and stuff.
That's a cute spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I anyway, so I appreciate
our Christmas tree now in
a
Pittsburgh.
good Christmas tree for the city.
And there's an ice skating rink there, which I've gone to once, which is really fun.
It's kind of like Rockefeller Plaza.
Yeah, it's like a really mini version.
Do you remember last year when we went and it was like so windy? It was like really stupidly windy and people were like falling over, but it also blew like a UPMC like sign.
Oh yeah, that was
off
scary.
Of a building and like it hit people on the ice rink. That was the best.
That was really funny.
We had gone skating that day, and then like as soon as we were done, that's like it blew a sign.
It got
and,
really violent.
It hit someone, and it just like knocked some lady over, and they had to stop.
The little Christmas market is cute too. That's kind of like Bryant Park.
Yeah, we saw the Krampus out there.
Okay, I had no idea that was a thing. It's very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make that the episode picture. You standing next to Krampus.
No, please don't.
Why? You loved it.
I did not. I thought it was scary.
Oh, it's so nice. He comes to your house at night and touches your feet with his big claws.
All right, everyone, stay safe from the Krampus.
Okay, bye.
Bye.